excitement at PDGA.com.
Okay. Sure.
Members in the disc golf family reaching back into the 80s. Clay Freeman of the Arizona community there. Scottsdale, Clay Freeman, very valuable friend. Fabulous disc golfer. Smiling face. Clay passing away just yesterday. You have to excuse me. I'm just receiving the news now, so I did not look at the date, just the emotion was reacting, so I'm sharing you with this. But bless you, bless your heart, Clay, and your family. Bill Van Ness, of course, a great traveling partner, roommate in Arizona, Glenda. Frisbee family comes in all shapes and sizes. Doss out in front to take a look. He'll shoot third, it looks like. Johansson with the lowest trajectory, covering just about the same amount of distance. Again, we see a lot of different techniques and strategies here. Disc golf is just one of the wonderful canvases of sport. He's pulled it right a little bit. It might have stayed on the edge of the blackberry, but just about circle distance, 33-foot mark, very close to his line. Miller and Becker on their mark. That will yield to Doss, it looks like. Miller just sent it right down to Miller. That was sweet. Becker, excuse me. Here's Doss from 110 feet. Stays up, it's got a chance. Oh boy, nice line. Actually looked like he was going for it, if you ask me. Nate beginning his realm, if you will, at the age of 15 as a world junior disc golf champion. Here's Brody Miller, longest drive of the group. This is what 90 feet looks like for our viewers. Thanks to our spotters here at Trojan and all of our parks, MacGyver, McCormick, Trojan, Blue Lake, Pier Park. Forget about Proper Eats Restaurant in St. John's, just a few blocks away from the entrance to Pier Park. Let them know you're a disc golfer. You won't get any discount, but you'll get some great food. Vegetarian and vegan, as well as a market meeting place. Shout out. Johansson on the Discovery now, just escaping the blackberries. There's some thorns where they shouldn't be within Johansson's stance, but he'll muscle through. Just over the edge, very signature style for M. Joe, as we saw that great performance in the Charlotte Worlds where he just powered his way into the top group. It was actually on Macbeth's tail. Actually, he was out in front before Macbeth began to blaze that trail through the woods at the Hornet's Nest. Here's Doss from behind the bucket. It's only about 12 feet. Doss, another milestone reached just recently, crossing the $240,000 earnings point. So that alone is quite an accomplishment. And there's Becker safely in. Miller with the last tap here, and our second card has completed hole 11. Now we go back to our lead card. Paul Ulibarri, after that splendid birdie on number 10, will approach this 585-foot length hole. Plenty of space to let it rip. There's trouble on the right side from our player's advantage, as we see Ulibarri flirting with that right edge, but that will flex back. 10 feet or so on the right edge is sloping down. Not an ideal stance for the approach, but shorter distance shouldn't present much problem. Simon Lizotte is able to drive the entire distance. And it's well on its way, folks. And he'll like that. And it avoids the snooker behind the oak tree, the last obstacle before entering the front of the green. Wysocki will tee next. Ricky beginning his career with a smash. I think he pulled down just less than $50,000 the first 10 months he was ever even a pro player. A big sidearm to a safe distance. That's well short, though. Again, the Wysocki game packs a really awesome flick, so that should be no problem for the approach. Locastro on that birdie bogey track. It's high enough, but turning. Not going to flex back. That's actually at the mouth of a huge culvert. That will be out of bounds. Spotters all over it. It's the point of entry. It's about where the Wysocki tee shot ended up. So he'll be shooting 3 from about the same distance as the Wysocki second shot. Our camera's working hard to get you these images, keep you up close and personal with the results of each hole, folks. Andy Foundhoven. Excuse me, it's Fairhoven. Excuse me, Andy. And Terry Roddy on the camera. Thank you for your support. And again, your comments at home and around the world. Thank you so much for sharing even your feelings. Hey, we hear just about everything on there, so there's no reason to shortchange your participation. Please tell us how you feel and what you think. That's what social networking is all about. And having a word with the spotters, the disc being retrieved quickly. That's another bonus. A great crew here, great staff under Todd Andrews, an immense undertaking, years in the making. Now we'll get an idea of the distance of the Wysocki drive, again, probably by strategy. It's a tailwind to the fairway, approaching the green. Shout out to Jeff and Julie Burns, Dave, Bugman, Meach, out in the Scottsdale Fountain Hills family. And the Wysocki shot ends up inside the circle about 20 feet. Again, that textbook flick aiding Ricky in just about every hole. Locastro at the point of entry. As we mentioned, he will add a throw. This will present a bogey card entry. Certainly not on his agenda. Going right at it. Oh, he missed that by 2 inches, ladies and gentlemen. That could have caught some link and pulled it right in. Great effort. Well, sometimes I wouldn't say the wheels have fallen off for Locastro, but just a few decisions, possibly some nerves. But all in all, it's very early in the tournament. Ulibarri will have no problem going right at this, but he ends up a little deep. Not necessarily a safe distance for World Championships pressure, but the fight goes on. Lizotte will have this basic approach after a monstrous drive. Drive is about 470 feet. Probably want to get that a lot closer. Locastro and Ulibarri in there early. We'll get out of their way. Just going to stop in just a moment. Player's choice to shoot when they do, so no harm, no foul. Ulibarri for par. Excuse me, that was a Ulibarri 3 for birdie. This for par for Locastro. Oh boy, that was a squeeb off the right side, though. I'm not sure how that's physically possible, but Locastro not finding the center of the net. Wysocki safely in for birdie. Lizotte as well after that monster drive. And Ulibarri also carding birdie 3. And not necessarily drama, but the excitement of pro disc golf, folks. We just completed hole 11. It's a monster. We move on to a very tricky number 12. This is our top men's card here at the Worlds, presented by Keen Footwear. This is the Worlds. We'll be right back. Number 12, folks, 285 feet. It's a par 3. Again, 90% of the fairway out over water. Ulibarri throwing first. He's going to have to hopefully checked up in the grass, but that was headed out of bounds. Our spotter well on the alert on the green, as you see in the blue shirt. Pin located in that beautiful nestled grove, shaded. And that hit some tree, but it stayed safe. Wysocki eyeing the backhand. Unusual with the orientation. Seems like the flick would best suit the wind, but he's turning in right at the green. That's a park job, folks, with a putter. 285 with a putter to within 10 feet. Here's Locastro. Will certainly have some zing on this one. The wind is off behind and off the left shoulder. This is on about the same line as Wysocki, and great judge of distance there. These players have amazing skill with the distance perception as well as the deceleration of the disc before that it comes to rest. It's all key in setting up your next shot. This is live coverage, folks. You're watching the 2014 PDGA World Disc Golf Championships through the miracles of the interweb. This is Disc Golf Planet TV's coverage. Its 5th year broadcasting the best of disc golf. We're behind Ricky Wysocki, Paul Ulibarri, Simon Lizotte of Germany, and Nikko Locastro, giving every bit of will and determination they can to forge forward towards potential world title to be awarded on Saturday in all of our divisions. 6 nations taking part in this year's event. Over 600 players, that's right, 600 here in Portland to enjoy the excitement and the drama of professional disc golf. This year's event presented by Keen Footwear, mounting an attack in disc golf like never before with their support, their products, and just to be honest, the best shoes ever for disc golf. So take a look. There's always new products coming out, but leave it up to Keen to come up with the best each year. Paul Ulibarri, after, let's see, we're looking for his resting spot, but it looks like he kicked back inbounds. So he'll have that limited straddle. Great effort, too. Good touch. Just about every shot that Ulibarri's let go at the target has come within just inches, if not in. So here's Lizotte from 50 feet. He's got to add some speed with that tailwind. But again, very makeable. Oh, just low for the Uberkinde. Castro with the steady, fast pace approaching his line. And it looks like he's inside Wysocki, but will choose to go first. Call it a tie. And there's a 2 for Locastro. Wysocki putting with his driver. And again, that bare miss by Lizotte will leave him with a par. Ulibarri as well. And there's the tap in. An exciting, dramatic green here, as we'll feature more during the week. We're going to move on to another delicate shot on number 13. We'll be back in a moment, folks. You're watching live on the planet.
Disc golf. It's in the air. Join the excitement at PDGA.com.
Somebody hit the touch screen on the battery and tell me what it says.
PDGA.com. It's a fairly exciting process. You'll be awarded your membership number, which you will have for the rest of time. It's a way to help grow the sport without leaving the house. Here's Ulibarri lining up. Very simple, textbook sidearm right at the pin. He actually hit it square, as you see, and he is on a roll. Proficiency can come in a number of disguises as well. Lizotte and Ulibarri with a short drive also can leave a better impression of the drive with a well-placed approach shot. All a part of, and as we see there, just a bocce on the Ulibarri approach. Just all about not letting up for a second. Locastro, as we mentioned, he shimmied up nice and close. Lizotte had a great line going, but finished too far right. Here's Wysocki with another nice result. All three of those approaches just within a couple feet of the base of the pin. Our conditions, based on our disembarkation weather, have changed for the pleasant side of things. There's literally a 5-6 mile an hour breeze present in and out of the open spaces in the park. Locastro lining up for a much needed 2. And it's safely in the nest. Taking some of the wind out of the putt by taking a knee. His straddle orientation has proved quite successful for him. Wysocki, Lizotte, and Ulibarri all carding the 3s. We've got a growing gallery here, folks, so we're moving on to hole 14. We have a bit of a wait on the course coming up, but you're enjoying these live images brought to you by the PDGA and Innova Disc Golf. We'll be right back.
I've been asked from time to time over the years, what is the big bead about on various discs that we have? The first disc that we had the bead on was the Classic Rock, which was made in approximately 1986. And the reason why we put the bead on that disc and big bead putters and spiders and other discs that we do is to keep the disc stable for longer. A lot of people think it's to make the disc more stable, and it's not. And it never has been. It's to keep the disc stable for a longer period of time. Plus, a lot of people like the fact that it's a little bit rounder on the bottom edge than the no bead, and it feels more comfortable to them. Other people don't think it does, so they don't like that big bead. But it is to retard the wearing of the disc, not to make the disc more stable. So now you know the secret of the bead.
Taking a long walk onto 14 fairway following group 2, John. We're going to have a catch angle coming back at group 1 when they're ready.
It's starting to change.
Team, 435 feet, folks, will separate tee from pin. It's an exciting bit of drama unfolding here as Locastro will now take the box from the group. Beautiful fairway. It's laying out nicely, but hooking right. That is wet. Locastro will follow. A much needed birdie with a foul. And that is unfortunate. Do not give up on Locastro, though. Now here is a beautiful scenario for the Wysocki flick. Look how he leans into it, going right over my head, tracking back towards the water, and that's not going to make it. Absolutely perfect distance, but just too far left. So it's an easy spot where he went in. It'll be about 70 feet out. Ulibarri will make a change after watching 2 of our first 4 go into the drink. Switching to the flick. Wise choice. Back into the center. Switching to the golf strategy. Lizotte looking to go 2 up on somebody. And literally a bocce on the Ulibarri drives. Ulibarri drives. So interesting set of scenarios there. Locastro with a much needed birdie after some birdie bogey performance dumps the driver into the drink. He'll have a mark about 100 feet. Tell you what, it's going to be a little more, about 110 to 120 feet out shooting 3. Wysocki will have about half that distance, maybe slightly less, for his par save as well. Shout out to Matty Oram out of Mobile, Alabama, scoring a 1 on that 325-foot hole 13 we just left. That's always an occasion to have had. Well, that's fairly historic, because there's a small group of people with hole-in-ones in the world. So you're welcome to give us a mention if you're one of those very few folks that has been able to write just a single vertical straight line in a score box at the Worlds. Right now it's about setting pace, maintaining a mental type of safeguard, if you will. Don't be distracted. Stick to your checklist. You know, what happens today can happen again tomorrow. So it's prepare for the worst and provide the best you can. The state of mind is the best tool for the inner athlete. Positive, progressive, sportsmanlike, anticipated, meditated, premeditated. All that part of a great round of golf. Lizotte now will be furthest from, so he will walk up without moving the driver. Use that as the mark. One of the newer PDGA rules adjustments in the last 5 years, 10 years. It's just a simple 100-foot putt. And again, maybe 6-inch error there, and that's it. Incredible talent on this 21-year-old. Ulibarri, again, incredible accuracy on the approach. Will stay within 15 feet. Wysocki will approach his point of entry. That's maybe a favorite driver of his as well. You have to consider that for the momentum lost. Spotter providing that mark just almost simultaneous to the disc leaving the fairway. Wysocki will need to regather, put something up close. Coming back at the basket, actually hits it, so he had the laser turned on for his par attempt. I believe that Locastro flexed into the water. Now, please, hope I haven't developed a need to vastly correct myself, but the disc started leaving the fairway way back before the basket, probably 100 feet in front of the basket. You should be able to see the hole in the sludge where he went into the water. So all this is safe. All this rough is safe to the water, correct? And then the water's the first out of bounds. So it makes sense. The Locastro flex began probably another 30 feet behind where the disc was in the water. But however, the group has concurred and play is on. Here's Locastro. He's got 65 feet for a par save. Just under the top rail. That's the fourth low putt of the round. Not to say that there's a trend, but something missing in the concentration or focus or execution. That's for Locastro to discover and mend. There's a drop in for Lizotte's par. Ulibarri will match. Safe play. And there's the result. And Wysocki and Locastro will card circle 4s. Again, anything's possible here at Trojan Park. Big track, best players in the game. We'll be right back. Coming up, another challenging hole, number 15, right after this. Folks, here's the Ulibarri drive on number 15. Oh, he just caught that little. Well, it's actually not little at all, but a bit of a billboard of a tree out in front of the green. Lizotte finding the same line but cutting left earlier. Skips through the two trees on the left. That's crazy. This glaze on the fairways here has provided a little extra oomph on everything. Of course, for right-handers, that's going to pull things to the left after first contact, but Locastro designing as he goes, it seems. .415 feet. Pin located on the very back side of 8 very large pluming trees. He's thrown the roller. It's got a very prescribable expiration to the right, and it's working perfectly. Outstanding. Wysocki, no doubt, will pull into the top shelf of his bag for that super flick. Farfignugan, he hit the first tree, penetrated a bit, and has probably gotten back into that 40-foot range. So, positive result there after taking some vegetation on the rim, entering that green area. It's a bit of a trouble spot, though, although the roller and that sidearm is able to avoid the entire mess by going left and around. We have a chance to see some of this beautiful eye candy we have as a fairway and approach area for this little section of the course. Is just stunning what they've done with the area. Trojan Park, of course, originally this huge, massive, untouched forest, if you will. But to Drew Mahalick's point again, Oregon embracing disc golf as never before. So, beautiful example of how something unused can become, what would you call that? Unbelievable. That's right. Shout out to our crew. Don't forget camera one. That's T-Rod, Terry Roddy, coming off a long week at Valhalla in Kentucky. There's one of our production assistants there, Sparky. And hey, bud. Hey, bud. Do you like disc golf? You like disc golf? You like a birdie? You got a birdie on that? Thank you. Don't you love it? Fans everywhere. Andy Fairhoven on the carry, too, for us. Thank you so much, Andy, local disc golfer. Proud to have you aboard. First look will be Ulibarri. He's got 80 feet to the pin. There's an accessible route on the right half of these two trees in front. It's going deep. Oh, checked up right in front of the stump. Back to Lizotte. That was that skip shot that entered this approach area and skipped completely through it. Took a hard left. It's right at 60 feet. Got a chance. Oh boy, just in front. I tell you, Lizotte has one of the smoothest releases in the putt as far as a snap putt goes. And then we go to the guide putt. Locastro and Wysocki, both trademarking a lot of that motion. The look of this very confident distance for Wysocki. Oh boy. Well, if that isn't going for it, I'm watching with one eye. Locastro to pace off, that could possibly help get things back on the rails. Who knows what could have been interfering with the putting earlier in Locastro's round, but he seems to have found a mend, and then again, kind of derail, mend, derail. But again, the inner athlete is in charge of all that. Locastro, very efficient, very passionate, very capable. .45 feet for birdie. Oh, boy. Just didn't grab enough. He's honing it in. Just a couple holes left, though, is probably on Locastro's mind, wanting to pull some type of aggressive amount of attack here before it's done. Wysocki, simple par. Ulibarri as well. 435 feet doesn't seem like a big distance when they can throw a sidearm that long, but add trees, slope, out of bounds, water, couple stumps, high basket, little tense moment here and there, and you got some professional disc golf, folks. Stay tuned. We're moving on to some even trickier holes. Don't forget the infamous number 18 coming up right after this on Disc Golf Planet. And that's an interesting set of shots there. Again, very elementary distance, but very, what we would say, difficult demand on the player. This is hole 16. Have another very tricky par 3 approaching, and then the infamous par 5 18th with a 3-section fairway. Boy, have we seen a lot of action fade to the left off of this very crowded tee on 18, the bridge. Of course, a big bottleneck for players leaving 13. taking on to 14, coming in off of 17, and then the 18th tee there going away is a big chance to catch up with a lot of people. Hopefully we'll get a word with some of our players out of the second card. You never know, but hope you're enjoying these images, the action, and the drama unfolding here in our Men's Pro Open division. Second day coverage of the PDGA World Championships here in Portland, Oregon. Thanks to our support of the players, we've been able to gain some more unfettered access, and we really appreciate their doing that for us. Thank you for the respect and the yield. Anything we can do to enhance the experience of our viewers. Tom Elder lending some assistance on the live scoring as well. He's getting my card straightened out. Be able to refer to this later, some interviews. Right now we're going to take a look at the looks to be the Wysocki putt downhill. Got this a total of 20 feet, but a 5-foot elevation from Ricky's perspective. This for birdie. Saw that coming out low. Just real quick, short take back. Wysocki, first frown that I've seen on his face since that miss on 13. Excuse me, that would be the drive and the drink on 14. Here's Lizotte from 12 feet. Straight in the belly. I think Wysocki is just feeling the close of the round approaching and needing to hold on to every throw possible. Locastro now to make up for that miss on 15. Still disappointed with the birdie. Appreciate you joining us, folks. We're heading to the 17th hole. It's an exciting day. Beautiful conditions. You're watching live. And here on the players. Very tricky hyzer route. Otherwise, it's a two tee shot, basically. Drive down the center. Look at that by Doss. Finishing left, textbook. Chris Becker, of course, coming out of the ranks of University of Oregon, and a strong player of the National Collegiate Disc Golf Championships. Jared Roan, one of his fellow competitors. We'll look down to the same Doss strategy, most likely. Absolutely no right to left access. A bit low, but dry. The noise you hear in the backdrop, somewhat distracting to some. Otherwise, it's just part of the backdrop of Trojan course. That's Highway 30, Oregon 30, the route taking you from Portland to the course here at Trojan. There's the Miller tee shot, also gliding left a bit. Interesting to see how the group has decided to walk along with the second car. Ulibarri in tow, Castro taking a peek or so, but also can help you see the trends, see these result trends that do happen. It does make a difference. It's fairly obvious that one surface is going to affect a lot of similar flights the same, so you can actually learn as you go. Have to have a course memorized. You have to have your game memorized to succeed. Here's Miller from a knee. Excuse me, Becker from a knee. Nothing left but the sidearm because that limited take back on the left side. Just see the pin down the center of our fairway. Headed left. And it's actually going to be snookered. That's going to be tough. Probably another pitch out coming for Becker. We see the technique Doss was using by making that mid-range choice, and also coming out a bit nose up. He was able to flip it and still guarantee that finish left for the right-hander. The kid's been playing Frisbee a long time. There's Brody Miller. There's 110 feet to the pin. Drifting right, but good pin high approach. Still have not discovered the Johansson lie. Doss skipped past this last tree that will defend the green. Will probably not need to take the knee here, but it's a runnable putt. It's just unfortunate that the ceiling is so low. So more speed can carry it past the pin if it's errant. Just barely a sneeze of a breeze here. And he'll have that left for a 4. Johansson now has approached his general area, and if he's looking, then he must be inbounds. Has found the reach, and that's so he has dropped a mini and pulled his mark, so that means that Johansson is safe, and he'll still have this 65 feet left to negotiate a birdie, which would be a swing move for him. Whew, I mean, right in front. He's got such a dramatic, just a launch of the putt. It's not a big monster of a man, but the game is quite to the contrary. Here's Doss from 50 feet for a 2. And just fading left. We're going to finish this second card coverage here on number 17. And then we'll leave our cameras in place so that we can turn back and then feature our top card coming back at us. There's Michael Johansson for 3. And a no-brainer for him anyway. Great putt, Mike. And to the melody of Oregon 30. Miller is in safely. Excuse me, Becker. Apologize. There's Doss. And now Brody Miller to cap off that 4. So Becker with the only bogey there in this group. Our cameras now will stay just above the pin here on the glance back to the tee. The long 435 feet with 30 foot in width to negotiate. This is live coverage of the 2014 PDGA World Championships. We're watching Paul Ulibarri, Ricky Wysocki, Simon Lizotte of Germany, and Nikko Locastro battle it out here at Trojan Park. And Ulibarri safely off. Simon Lizotte will try and flex one the entire distance. Just a low bullet. Oh, caught that last tree, but still with a little bit of skip and not a bad deflection at all. He's within 35 feet of the pin. Just imagine the inertia you have to create to go that far, that fast, without changing elevations. Just immense skill. Locastro, after the birdie on 16, will move in front of Wysocki on the box. Another backhand. He's had a tendency to flip these lower shots. And let that one go out early, so that will bleed out right. That will bleed out to the left. Maybe just an overcorrection. Wysocki with a disappointing par on the very short number 16. Will again attempt something amazing. Didn't quite flip that over, but it does penetrate that bit of rough on the left, and he'll be around 60 feet for another 2 attempt. See our cameras showing you the difficult demand on the players. The breeze now picking up, all to the, again, the soundtrack of Oregon 30, State Route 30, just above the fairway here to the right, as you see the vehicles passing. To some, it can be a comforting noise. Can others? Could be a signal to catch the bus. Looking back down the long fairway, probably another 395 left. Excuse me, about 345 left for Locastro to the pin. Have to put this close. There is no right to left route here, folks, because of the low-hanging oak branches. Basically same demand, shorter distance. Oh, this looks beautiful. Coming right at our cameras. And that checks up nice to within 15 feet of the pin. Great recovery by Locastro. Shout out Iqbal Jahan and Sticky Icky Discs in Wichita, Kansas. Vic Allen down in the North Texas University area, also watching. Part of the Planet crew. Ulibarri coming right at it. We'll use that tree to check up, and he too is within 15 feet. Well, I tell you, Ulibarri's really worked on a full game, a big bag of tricks, if you will, but that sidearm has served him properly so many occasions, and watching this man create his game has been a blast since the 2010, I believe, his win in the amateurs was in 06, that advanced AM win. That was to launch this gentleman's disc golf future. Here's another player recently on the top, if you will, at the finial position in the men's division, winning the Japan Open this year in outstanding form. One of the more demanding tracks on the planet. The Raijin and Fujin courses featured in Nasu Shiobara. That was an incredible event, but this is again a different challenge. Here's Wysocki outside of 60 feet. Good angle. It's not enough height. Players will show a little bit more frustration as the opportunities to advance will slowly decrease in number. We have one hole remaining after the completion of the 17th. Very demanding 435-foot par 3. Here's Simon Lizotte of Bremen, Germany, to save his par. Excuse me. This is an amazing drive, thus for birdie. Oh boy, no medal. Oh boy. Looks like they'll let Locastro mark and step in first. Locastro. Great recovery. Here's Ulibarri to match suit. It's that signature pullback or short forearm movement. Helps keep the chin attached to the elbow and shoulder. Rarely see a high Ulibarri putt, if you notice that. And Lizotte safely in as well for his third. No, Wysocki rather right down a vertical straight line in a score box, but that's it. Pars around, except for that bogey on, no bogeys. It's exciting. We're moving on to the final hole. We'll be right back after this. Here because of traffic.
Hi, I'm Dave Dunapace, here to do another Dave Spin. Today we're going to talk about G-Star plastic, and people have asked, what's it about? Originally, it was about grip, getting a good grip on the driver so you can give it a good rip. And it evolved a little bit, and it is where it is right now. But originally, we wanted a durable, premium type plastic disc that was easy to grip and easy to throw, comfortable to throw, and I believe we got it. I've made some gummy drivers, and I always need discs that have more grip. I have very, very dry skin, and it's difficult for me to grip Champion plastic. Can't grip KC plastic at all. We tried mixing the Star type mix with a gummy Champion, and messed around with it a bit to find exactly where we wanted the flex to be. Too soft and it torques in your hand, and too stiff, you don't get the grip. The high-speed stability is pretty good, on a par with Champion or Star, and then the low-speed overstability seems to be attenuated a little bit, and I think that's a good thing. I'd rather the disc continue going forward rather than falling off. The durability is definitely on a par with Champion or Star, either one. I think it's actually maybe a little bit more durable than regular Star. It absorbs, the plastic absorbs a lot of the impact, so it's probably what's saving it from damage. When you smack something with a G-Star disc, it kind of folds up, and it doesn't bounce, just go ricocheting off a mile like it might happen with Champion or Star. It's a dead hit, so you don't get these big caroms and ricochets as much as you would with the other plastic. Part of that flexibility is really helpful when the weather gets cold. It maintains its flexibility even at freezing temperatures, whereas our other plastics would get very stiff and be very difficult to grip. I really wouldn't want to play with anything else in the cold. We measure these things when the temperature got down to 35 degrees, and the flexibility was still, would have passed the PDGA's flex standards, which are measured at 77 degrees. And on the other end of the scale, a lot of people are worried about how floppy or flexy these things would be in hotter weather, and it really doesn't get much more flexy as the weather goes up to 110 degrees is what we measured, and we measured Champion against G-Star at 110 degrees. And while Champion starts much more firm at 77 or colder, or whatever it is, starts much firmer when it gets colder, it gets more flexible more quickly than G-Star does. G-Star has a fairly flat curve for flexibility, such that even if it's 110 degrees out, it's still not floppy. It's soft and flexy, but it's not floppy. It's not like gummy Champion or anything like that. It never gets that soft. Well, we plan on using G-Stars for every disc in our lineup, and probably some discontinued discs too, because we think it's, personally, I think it's our best blended plastic. I happen to like a little bit softer and grippier discs, and I like durable discs, and I like pretty discs too, and the G-Star has it all.
Joining you now on the 18th tee. We just watched the result of the David Fehlberg tee shot. Up next, Legacy's founder, Steve Rico. Looking for that to turn and straighten out. Well placed. That's an ideal choice when you see the navigation here. The disc really needs eyes. This is a triple segment fairway. Epic challenge. Macbeth, the mid-range, probably the rock 3, drifting a little further right, flirting with that sidewalk, and he's safe. Cale LaVisca, very popular player, extremely aggressive. We'll stretch that all the way out to as much fairway as possible. Another great placement. Good to get all of that, like switching from a lower elevated club to a wedge, so you can get a more full extraction on that. But all power is not necessarily the first effort here off the tee of 18. Big challenge awaiting all of our players, folks. It's a long walk for our patrons as well. One of the first chances for players to reach an open segment of available breeze. In most cases, the conditions here, I would say, are in the ideal realm. Portland enduring some much higher than normal temperatures, even 20 and 25 degrees higher than normal in their end of summer trend. And Mother Nature has also blessed us with the window to complete our round, but some of the best disc golf available that are here to bring you their best. This year's PDGA World Championships, brought to you by the PDGA, of course, and presented by Keen Footwear. That's about the most commonly seen product in disc golf out here, especially at the Worlds. Players choosing to go with the best footwear, and of course that advancement in technology for players' comfort, safety, training. It's all to the advantage of the growth of the game.
Took it out because I didn't want you to carry it yesterday in the rain. So it's in the backseat of the car.
Just look for some toilet paper, or?
Yeah, what I'm trying to do is, like, you know, yesterday it was raining, so my caddy, I didn't want him to have to carry it with a heavy bag and kind of seal it down, so I took out one of my favorite turnover drivers. And now I didn't put it back in because I was too, you know, out of it this morning, so.
It's not that green one floating out there by that yellow one, is
No,
it?
it's white.
Oh,
I
okay.
wish it was white. I'd have him dive in and get his caddy here, so he just dive.
I think your caddy needs a caddy.
Dude, he does.
Got any sandwiches?
Actually, she made 2 sandwiches, but they're like,
Gluten-free?
actually, yeah.
Dave Fehlberg sharing with us. I find that pretty common with David, a very open-spirited player, competitor. Maybe moving into the Boulder area. Fehlberg actually has quite a following here. Cynthia, of course, in tow. Partner in life. As we mentioned, maybe entering the Colorado area. So those of you out in the in the area, even I don't want to be specific to save privacy for Cynthia and David, but look out. Fast train coming your way. I want to shout out to our fearless leader out in Philadelphia, switching the show at the TriCaster in Philadelphia, John Duesler, Dr. John, former marketing director for the PDGA. Shout out to wife Bernice, wonderful family as well. In North Huntington, Pennsylvania. Get a good look at the conditions now. The lake that here is that finds home here at Trojan Park. Just these expansive views. One of our spotters, if you haven't seen already, in a kayak, available to go out and fish some errant shots out of the water virtually immediately. Another luxury provided by Todd Andrews and his awesome course staff all over Portland. 6 different courses used to house our players and feature today's lead card in the Men's Pro Open division. Rebecca Duffy also here working with our crew. It's always good luck to have Miss Duffy in tow. The chairman of our board of directors, Felberg, now will mount up and look to let this one rip. .675 feet the total distance. Felberg Drive is approximately 250, so you do the math. Turned over early. It's a fairly classic Felberg move. It's to ask if it's safe before it hits the ground. You gotta wait till it hits the ground, Dave, to ask if it's safe. LaVisca and Rico with a bocce in the fairway. Looks like they'll yield to Macbeth has it by just a couple of feet. LaVisca to throw. Again, we'll leave the drives in place as they individually use the marker mini to designate. Very simple process. Take your time. LaVisca now throwing into about 8 to 10 miles an hour of headwind. Will not need to force this over much. He'll get the green flag again. Folks at home are watching the accelerated turnover angle. That's to set up for a cutback roll. Pin tucked very hard back to the right. This will keep turning clockwise into the breadths of these huge trees. Rico will use that footing insurance. It's one thing to have a bag full of plastic, but it's another thing to design everything that's in your bag. So it's got to climb. He'll get up onto the short stuff. Paul Macbeth. That's got to keep turning, or it could fly the entire fairway. And that's crushed. Plenty of distance. Of course, he'll have a much wider visual access to the pin, and it looks like the first 2 shots that we saw, the LaVisca and Felberg, may require sidearm approach. I'd like to give a very heartfelt shout out to all of our players that could not make it here this week for one reason or another. Remember, all of our players participating in the World Championships are required to qualify through playing PDGA sanctioned events. A number of rounds required to develop your rating. It also mimics the USDGC qualifying standards. Now we've given the green flag back to the tee of 18. Joe will tee first. He'll be throwing right at our camera lens. bit shorter than the majority of what we've seen. Again, 675 feet, par 5. Nate Doss. And that's well placed for our viewers' vantage point. Tee shots finishing towards your left will require a much more difficult shot to get around and still remain tracking towards the green. So Brody Miller has pulled this over to the right. That's got a chance to skip back in, and it does. Again, that's going to have a much bigger turn required for the approach to that secondary fairway. Chris Becker looking at his sidearm out over the water. And well done. Fairly textbook set of tee shots there for our next to the last group here at Trojan Park. See the blue heron crossing the lake here. Another example of this epic landscape that Mother Nature has created in the state of Oregon. Expansive lake, beautiful Douglas firs pasted all over the mountains and foothills here in St. Helens, Oregon. Must be nice to live in this disc golf paradise. You can imagine the work that was required to telegraph and, to telemark this course and create a canvas that can house the worlds. Thanks to our sponsors for today's coverage, again, UB Disc Golf. Some of the most highest tech frying pans used in the business. I bet their gas bill is just enormous, cooking all those discs up. And dynamic discs. Can't say enough about the powerhouse of young creative talent that's behind Jeremy Roscoe's landmark effort in Emporia. Shout out to Josh Harvey working at the Kansas City, Kansas store, just a few blocks down from Rosedale Disc Golf Course, familiar to many who've enjoyed the Kansas City wide open. A couple of its champions here in the midst, in the hunt for the title. I'm going to give another Kansas City shout out to Tavish Carduff and fireman Fred Smith, Madigan, Marin, Ben, all in Kansas City. Great disc golf family. Another example of a family that plays together, stays together. We're taking a glance at Nate Doss, another member of our next to the last card here. Nate, four-time World Disc Golf Champion. And Chris Becker, very proud member of the Oregon Disc Golf team. Oregon, University of Oregon. Brody Miller, we did mention before that Brody actually worked as a production assistant for a Planet broadcast at the Beaver State Fling in 2010. And Michael Johansson out of North Carolina as the second fairway clears on 18 here. Watch the fluidity of Michael's follow through. Does not mess with those upper elevated shots. That's just penetration city right there. Well done for Johansson. Doss to throw next. Doss playing under the Discraft banner for years, since his first world title in Pennsylvania at 19 years old. 475 remaining. And he's gonna look for a flag. That's gonna get a red flag, unfortunately for Doss, but it was tight. Becker will be looking at a headwind turnover again. Easy to let these things over a little early for a right-hander with this setup. Seems distance would be more key than direction here. Just land on that second fairway in front of us. It's about 325 in front with another 125 to 50 to the right to get to the pin. Chris Becker. Second shot. Steady breeze of 8 miles an hour. Just look at it, had a little wobble coming out of it, so that accelerated the turn. It's waiting for. He's got a red flag as well, so he and Doss have both folded a bit into the wind. So we remember the Felberg release and the Macbeth release, well out over the water, but increased the area, the landing zone for that shot. So took some of the necessity for turn out of it. Very key shot here for Brody Miller to close out his third round. This live broadcast brought to you by the PDGA and Innova Disc Golf. And look for that to flex out and take some of that tight tangent out, and well done by Miller. No need to wait for a flag there. Doss a bit disappointed on that early turnover, but he'll find a way out of that. You can imagine what a tough time Mother Goose had, and she figured everything out. And we're to the point now where we will cover the disappearing of our second card onto the green. We'll be able to stay with access back to our top card as they tee off here on 18. Just a few moments left for our spectators and spotters to clear the fairway. So there's our furry frisbee friend. How are you doing, buddy? Fans are out. Cloud Premble out here walking around too. Cloud, you're out here from Austin? Where are you coming in from?
Eugene.
Oh, great. Up in your hometown. Watching the top group. Right behind us now, they're going to take to the fairway. Difficult. Have you played this hole before?
This is my first day here, but I've always been scared of it because I didn't want to lose plastic.
You're fired. Back of the line. Well, I'll tell you what. There's a couple guys here like Mike Sullivan that have an extra 300 or 400. Here's our first tee shot by Lizotte right down the middle. Cloud, you've watched three of these groups tee off on 18. Anything that you see fairly consistent to the players' enjoyment? Who's been doing?
Well, everybody, lots of people. There's a headwind that just developed. It was really calm here a little bit ago, and it's making 18 really rough, and a lot of people are going OB right on their second throw.
Right. As we look,
I guess you guys are seeing that in the coverage, but
we just saw Locastro leave it out of the center there, and there's the Wysocki sight on him. Boy, he just breathes distance with that thing, and all four of our players are off. Cloud, we like to shout out anybody at home?
Yeah, to my old buddies down at Monterey Stinging Jellies, and my Eugene Disc Golf Club members. Yeah, it's nice. Great to have the Worlds here in Oregon.
Now it's the Otters and the Stinging Jellies and Merle Whitford's gang of youth, the youth movement on fire there, the Monterey Bay area, very famous, of course, the 2011 Worlds featuring that tremendous course at the Oaks there. Well, it's good to have you here. See you in the fairway.
Thanks. Crazy.
We're going to take a different position here, get behind our lead group, and hope to see you again.
Right.
Cloud Premble, another distinguished guest here amongst the players at Trojan Park. We see Wysocki will throw his approach his second shot as well. Last. Lizotte in, let's see, Locastro in blue, Lizotte white, and Ulibarri, excuse me. So many different disc manufacturers now that some of our players playing with mixed bag, some playing under single banner, some playing as founders and designers, such as Dave Dunapace. I mean, that's got to be a bunch of math for Dave to play around a golf. He's probably thinking like fraction numbers and decimal points. But, you know, when you get talent, better use it. Ulibarri actually has the best vantage point to design onto the second fairway. It will require less turn, so distance will be a little more accessible. Terry Roddy on camera 1, right next to the Ulibarri bag. Andy Fairhoven, technician here, providing invaluable assistance here. Can't do without you. Thank you. Think about the lowest level of breeze that we have is about 5 miles an hour, gusting up to 8 or 10. It's a headwind for most. The sidearm seems to be the only shot to take the worry out of the tight turn. Backhands, the ones that we've seen negotiated successfully, have gone far before they turn right. A couple of shots that we saw recently that did finish out of bounds were just too tight to the tangent, not given a chance to flex. Wysocki not being able to see the pin, it's just out on an inspection. Ulibarri is set to throw first. Wysocki just gathering last chance to attack. It's been a pleasure having all of you with us through this round today. This is our 150 tee time. It's a great shot for Nate Doss there. Heck of a save for his 4. Actually, it's going to be a 5 for Doss. So that was a great par save. Brody Miller up close. As you see Brody pick out, you can see the basket now. 675 feet. Ulibarri now from the mini. About 450 remaining. And that wind, safe, but much shorter than Ulibarri desired. Sure. This headwind is showing its face here. Locastro will mark and clear. Dustin Roddy on camera 2. Castro's going to have to talk to this to keep it from fading left into the lake. And that's splish splash. Have to reach out to the spotter. Okay, the spotter will give clarification that it went out over that mark. He's already had the red flag in place, and another example of the totally awesome spotters here at this year's World. So Simon Lizotte has got the green light in his head to let this rip. Oh, there's that real cool switchback he does. Look at this thing played out. Safely on. Oh, might have gone over the bench, but we're getting a good response from the spotters over there. That was a crush. Wysocki has, just with a little flick of the wrist, has outdriven everyone else by about 40 feet. We believe by strategy, but again, this angle, as you are able to see, just barely catch a glimpse of the basket. off the left side of Wysocki. He'll have to go out over the water. Ideal shot will slowly turn right and then let it stable. Qualities kick in. This looks beautiful. Right on line. He'll have about 150, 180 feet for his approach to a birdie. We're following our final MPO card, folks. The final hole of this third round. Day 2 of the 2014 PDGA World Disc Golf Championships, presented by Keen Footwear, another powerful force in professional disc golf. Here's another great spotter. Hey, bud, you're working on the course staff. You're a spotter. What's your name?
My name's Cody Hartman.
Where are you from, Cody?
Portland, Oregon.
Portland. How? Shout out to your folks at home.
DGOD for life. Disc Golf or Die local club here in Portland, Oregon. Just doing our work here for the Worlds.
Super cool. You look good. You're helping a lot of folks out here. Way to do it. You guys really do it well. Thank you. Immense staff laid out all the way through the course here. There's probably 50 to 60 spotters between the Trojan course and the Milo MacGyver layouts. There's an east and a west track to the MacGyver complex. Another exciting venue for disc golf. We're approaching our second fairway of number 18. We see the patrons now much larger in number watching our top men come in and close round 3. Cameras are able to show you just how frustrating it's been for Locastro. He's been at the edge of the water a couple times today so far, but you don't give up when you're playing in the World Championships. Great sidearm by Ulibarri. Honestly, that almost went into Locastro now from about 210 feet. Shooting 3. Excuse me, shooting 4. It's par 5. It's going low and left, and that could drift long. And that'll make it over to the edge of that secondary rough, close to pin high. Wysocki next. He's going to throw a little flick lawn dart. It's 140 feet. It's going right at it. Well done. That for the drop-in birdie. Rebecca Duffy, Dustin Roddy on the catch behind our 18th pin. Thank you so much, Rebecca. Of course, the Fraulein of the fairway, as well as outstanding chairman of the board of the directors of the PDGA. Lizotte finishing just 15 feet. I'm sorry, just about 8 feet from water's edge. Tremendous shot, about 430 feet. 70 feet for eagle. Wow. Excuse the wow word. And I believe Locastro is going to be a little long. Nope. Everybody's nice and tight. Here's a great example of how practice can set you up for success. Locastro in for his par. Wysocki, Ulibarri, and Lizotte all tapping in for birdie. Super shots, folks. Great round for all these fellas. You can notice the fight and the determination in their faces, but this is pro disc golf at its best. This completes our coverage for the round. We're going to gather a few scores. We will only be able to share unofficial results with you at this point, but see who we might have access to after the scoring process has been completed. I'm just going to let you listen in.
Paul, half forward it. Ricky. Rick 4. You got 4. Simon.
Ulibarri taking a look at the card. Hopefully in just a moment we'll have all 4 of our players here for a brief interview after the round.
Good play, Rick. See him on, buddy. They want us 3 over here.
Just you 3 in the line here. We just want to ask you a couple of questions.
Good. Hope you're enjoying us, our space, some time with our players. Just finished a round. Of course, today's only the 2nd day, yet round 3 has been completed. Trojan Park, for all of our gentlemen, has brought some challenge here, but also it's a fairly exciting course. You know, disc choice at a premium, but when do you take the risk? Well, we've seen today is an example of how practice can truly complement strategy. I'm going to start with you, Paul, starting out with the lead. 1 throw. You and Ricky very close together in a number of events this year, but where do you feel you gained strength by sticking to your strategy? You did not, didn't appear to waver, Paul.
Yeah, you know, just like you said, I think I stuck to my game plan. Was aggressive when I needed to be, and I, you know, played conservative when I also needed to be. And I think we all got a little lucky with the weather today. Trojan can be very mean when it gets windy, and today it was fairly calm, so I think that also played into my favor. So.
You and Paul, particularly Ricky, have shared some rounds together this year. You also have some history as well for World Championships. You've been awfully close, Paulie awfully close, and especially in the majors with some new talent here, fresh out of the gates for Lizotte. How did you feel 1 throw out of the lead? Is that a factor, or is it forge on and wait for the big cut Friday?
Well, you know, just like any round, you're in a battle. You want to be the leader after the round. But you know, this being a long 7-round tournament, I think, you know, I'm going to stick to my game plan, like Paul said. He did, and he played well today, and I hung in there. So we'll see what the next few rounds bring.
All three have such an enormous bag of tricks that you're carrying, or your caddies are carrying for you. But Simon, for you, your entry into the Worlds this year means a lot. You have the European contingency behind you, of course, playing under the flag, under the Deutschland flag. It's got to mean a lot to you. How do you feel your confidence is right now at the Worlds, being so far away from home, if you will, so far away from your original home? Because I know you're spending a lot of time here.
Yeah, I was so lucky this year just to have the opportunity to travel the States, actually travel the whole world. And yeah, I've played around these 2 especially, and just getting used to it and being at Worlds for the first time for me is really special. And this place is actually really beautiful, and especially the Milo course just suit my game, and I enjoy every round.
The 3 of you have been to Portland before to practice and prepare. Did you have anything striking, anything phenomenal happen while you were here? Anything that left a good taste in your mouth, so to speak? Find it where you left it before you made it to Portland?
Well, so far we've been blessed with good weather, so I like that. Portland's just a beautiful city when the weather permits, and we're all just happy to be here, really.
Ricky, anything particular about the Portland courses that you were excited to get back to?
I mean, you know, I've heard a lot about the Blue Lake course. That's the course I haven't played. I played all of them besides that one, and I know it's Dave Felberg helped design it. So, you know, that's really a course I like to play, and it's a really good Worlds course. So it's going to be coming down to that course, I think, in the final day.
You've had a couple great wins, Simon. I want to ask you one final question. Did you realize when you entered the game at such a young age, and your father, of course, such a great trainer, exhibitor, coach, guide, and what have you, did you imagine yourself on a day like today playing with the top card in the World Championships?
Well, that started when I was around 15, maybe, when I turned in the Open and started beating everybody in Germany, and then 2 years later I beat everyone in Europe. And I'm trying to beat everyone in the world, just working on it.
Wins in Scandinavia and Germany, of course, at home have certainly helped bring you there. You're immensely talented, all three of you gentlemen, and also Nikko Locastro. Thank you, Nikko. Thank you for letting us join your group. Appreciate your sportsmanship and your tremendous play. Paul Ulibarri, Simon Lizotte, Ricky Wysocki, and a fairly close by Nikko Locastro, our feature group today for the second day of live coverage here at the World Championships. Thank you for joining us. Hope you've enjoyed watching these superstars bring out their best for you. This completes day 2 coverage here on Disc Golf Planet TV. We hope you've enjoyed yourselves. Thanks to the PDGA, Innova Disc Golf, UB Disc Golf, Dynamic Discs, and you, our faithful viewers around the globe. We'll be back tomorrow with more live coverage. Stay tuned. I'm Crazy John Brooks saying thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time right here on Disc Golf Planet. Thanks a lot, fellas.
Thanks, Crazy.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Disc golf is in the air. Join the excitement at PDGA.com.